Okay, I failed miserably. We're back on schedule. Our next session is session 12, which is the case study on information sharing in the Western Indian Ocean. And I was trying my hardest because the moderator is Vice Admiral Perera. I was trying to get him some extra time. As I said, I failed. We've got Raj Mohabeer joining virtually. I'm just checking that he's joined virtually. He'll be presenting from Indian Ocean Commission. Captain Leroy from the ILO for the Seychelles, from Madagascar, and Saad Soulieman, ILO for Djibouti at the RCOC. Have we got the other two there?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is the last session of the, one before the last. I hope Raj is online.
Second presentation.
Raj, are you there? So now we're going to discuss about the Western Indian Ocean, its challenges, and we have the Indian Ocean Commission, and to discuss on that, and also some of the successful events that has occurred through information sharing and then combined and joint activities. So Raj will explain us to what they're doing with the Indian Ocean Commissions, the challenges that the Western Indian Ocean area has. When we look at the geography of that, you have the extents of coastline on the east side of the east coast of the African continent, the number of islands, and lack of MDA for most period, and then we have huge issues. There are piracy, there is illegal fishing, there is maritime terrorism. Because of the maritime terrorism, the vulnerability on ports and then the other infrastructure, the spectrum of issues that the Western Indian Ocean need to deal with. To that, Indian Ocean Commission has become an authority to get engaged in now in the present day. We have seen the others engaging in, we have seen the Combined Maritime Force, we have seen other naval forces providing against in anti-piracy operations, and we have seen the EU force Atlanta active in these areas. So we will, if Raj is on.
Sir, Raj is still yet to join.
Right.
He's just asked for a couple of minutes, so maybe if you could go with one of the other.
I'll go with Captain Leroy. Now, Captain Leroy is the one of the liaison officers in RMIFC in Madagascar, and we have with us Saad Soulieman. He is also a liaison officer at Djibouti RCOC. So with that, I'll leave Captain Leroy to tell us about your story.
I'm Captain Paul, ILO Seychelles at the Regional Maritime Information Sharing Center in Madagascar. So my representation is about the case study of the Operation Bahari Safi, which was conducted under the Safe Seas Africa program. Yes, which was conducted in under the Safe Seas Africa program in coordination with the Regional Coordination Operations Center, RCOC, in Seychelles, the Regional Maritime Information Fuser Center, MIFC, in Madagascar, the Kenyan Navy, and the Seychelles Defense Forces. So now let's have a look at the standardized communication matrix of the RCOC while conducting its operations. As you can see, platforms that we use are IRIS, emails, CVision, HF, and VHF, with our communication flow going across between the regional centers, up and down between regional centers and national centers, while the assets communicates directly with the national centers. Now, the situation that we had at hand is as shown on the screen. The information received from a regional partner on Wednesday, 15th October 2025, advised of two possible drug dhows operating in the Indian Ocean. The intel also indicated a possibility of the dhow heading south Previously recorded information indicated that one of the dhows may have conducted a narcotic delivery in the region in June same year, 2025. Now, as you can see, I don't know if it's visible from here, the markers on the screenshot, the pointers, yeah? So we have the pink ones, which are the ones that was picked up by our source and shared to us, with the green ones being the estimated ones taken into consideration. Okay. With the green ones as the ones that we estimated, taking into consideration the previous delivery that happened in June 2025, according to our source. And as we can see, the gray box is the area of operations that we came up for our operation, taking into consideration the previous delivery and the current location that we had. Now, the action taken by the RCOC and RMFC was when RCOC received the information, it relayed the same information to RMFC for processing, analyzing. And thereafter, analyzing, RMFC also relayed back the information to RCOC, which led to a joint operation conferencing between the regional and national centers, including UNDC for their professional and legal advice. Next, we had the liaison officers, the ILOs, who liaised with their respective countries. In that case, it was Kenya and Seychelles, in discussing if the countries are willing to participate and provide the assets in that said operation. While the countries agreed to participate, the asset request was sent, the incident report was sent to the national centers, while they confirmed their assets, and also the ops instruction was sent. Thereafter, we ensured after the confirmation of assets, both member states had the ops briefing was conducted for ensuring the coordination among the regional and national centers. Now, we had our first flight conducted on the 18th of October, and the VOI was identified. The surface asset was deployed by the Kenyan Navy and cast off at 0706 UTC on Sunday, 19th October. And we had our second flight by the Seychelles Defense Forces conducted on the 20th, and the interception was done by the Kenyan Navy on the 20th itself. Now, the outcome of the operation, we had the non-registered dhow, codenamed Igor, was intercepted by the Kenyan Navy, approximately 630 kilometers east of Mombasa. Now, after further investigation and testing while at the port of Mombasa by the multi-agency team, including UNDC and Interpol, it was confirmed that it was the package was 1,024 kg of methamphetamine with a street value of 8.2 billion Kenyan shilling, approximately 2.3 million USD. Now, the lesson learned throughout the operation is that the multi-agency coordination to reduce distance, that is patrolling the area between the EZs of Kenya and Seychelles to create some sort of a bottleneck just to tighten the space for the passage of the illicit activities. Also, public signaling and deterrence, importance of intelligence relayed in a timely manner, embedding international partners to ensure proper application of legal finish. That is we had discussed with UNDC and Interpol, and having the importance of specialized equipments. And that's it on my side. Thank you very much.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Do we have Raj online now?
Yes, we have Raj online now, sir.
Right.
So if you want to
So
call him up.
we listened to Raj the first session yesterday, but Raj is a doyen of Blue Economy. You know, he's the present officer in charge of the Secretariat of the Indian Ocean Commission, and I think his experience precedes him. Raj, we would like to hear from you about how the Indian Ocean Commissions and then involvement with the other MDA agencies, and how that you're looking forward into developing MDA in the Western Indian Ocean. Raj.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to come again today and intervene. Simon, will you be sharing the slides from there, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
we can do the slides from here.
So my intervention is related to the importance of these particular tools, which is, related to MDA, and what I think it will be very important for us to do today in this session is to try to see to it, but the MDA tools, MDA, and different various related mechanisms, how do they work? So if it's possible, we can then, Simon, can you, is the slides open?
No, we're just connecting them now.
Connecting up, you can get onto your first introduction and go ahead while it's coming.
Okay, so my intervention today relates to what I believe is very important, in the sense that, you see, in the region, and as I said yesterday, it applies also for today, but the whole system, mechanism that exists in all the countries to manage the EEZs is very much focused on the assets, which are very costly, and also it doesn't necessarily reach the objective that we plan to undertake. So, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm still waiting for the slides. If
you have the slides on now. We have the slides.
Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. So, just a second. Okay. No, this is not mine. I think this is a different slide. What I sent is another one. I'm sorry for this. For some reasons, my laptop is giving me some problems as well at my end. I really would like to apologize for that.
No, just bear with us. We're just connecting up the right presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are on to your first slide now.
Okay, yeah, good. Thanks very much. Okay. So first of all, I think it's very important for us to, have this in our mind, that why are we trying to address maritime security? So first, that, there are lots of now interest, and there are many strategies. All the countries want to develop blue economy. For example, fisheries is there, but very much that in this region, fisheries are being fished not necessarily by the countries of the region, but by others. So there are lots of, the new frontier, as we say, for economic growth. Many countries rely on developing blue economy. Secondly, there are many challenges that impact negatively on the countries, like IU fishing, of course, but traffic of drugs. Most 95%, if not 98% of the drugs come from the sea. Arms trafficking, etc. I won't go into detail. So in other words, maritime security is a prerequisite both for the economic growth and the challenges of the year. Next slide, please. Now, what is also very important is that we have to understand what are the issues related to MDA. Now, we cannot be looking at that on MDA just by looking at the MDA, but we have to focus on wider issues. First, that many of the challenges that we want to deal with, like arms trafficking, like drug trafficking, etc., or IU fishing, these are common goods and common challenges. So we can't be looking at alone. There has to be national strategies, regional and international. That's first. Secondly, see, if I ask how a particular country uses its assets, surface or air assets, you'll find that many use their assets on the basis of some requests. There are some problems, some boats have, given some signals, so we have to look. No, we have to change from the current system, which is responsive to requests for assistance, to another one, which is an intelligence-based, where you try to orient the use of the assets towards what we believe abnormal movements of vessels, vessels of interest, etc., or what we believe or we think that there will be many issues related to. Now, if we don't have that capacity to understand what is happening in the EEZ, you cannot be developing the blue economy as well, because others will be, reaping the benefits and taking out all the resources from there. The third point about investment choices, as I was saying, there are not sufficient resources that are put in the new technology development, transfer of technology, MDA, etc. The assets that we have in the countries, air or surface assets, are very costly, not necessarily cost effective. So we have to try to push so that there is a change in the investment choices away from very highly costly assets to, pushing for new technology, new tools, and MDA, etc., etc. Now, the last point on this one is that this requires that we review the way countries are managing their EEZs. Like we have to have like the maritime security policies and strategies, national committees which are operational and are looking at what is happening at sea, and also the National Maritime Information Sharing Committee and Center as well. Next slide, please. So what I'm trying to say with these 4 points is that these are very important issues for us to understand before we can shift to another, next slide please, another process where we are looking at now. This is where the RMSA emerged. It's a result of several years of discussion and negotiations. I won't go into the details. Next slide please. So these are just the pictures of the signing of the ceremony. Now, here it summarizes what the RMSA is about. There are 37 surface assets that have already been committed to the system, and there are 6 air assets. So in total, there are 43 assets, and the area of the interest have been defined as per the agreement in this picture. Next slide, please. Now, what we are talking about our regional maritime security architecture, but the idea is to come up and reach at regional level a regional maritime security capability. Now the focus on, and this I try to explain the focus, is that if we are monitoring the movement of the vessel and there are systems, and we know that there are AI which can show us, for example, a vessel which is somewhere for 2 months, staying in some places, even it's high sea, then you have to ask questions why that vessel is there. So there are many reasons how we can identify vessels which have suspicious or abnormal behaviors to those which are normal. And the system at the RMFC, precisely with using LRIT, AIS, VMS, etc., and all the different types of systems and informations, that if all this is fused at the RMFC, it will provide you with a global maritime picture where those which are supposed to be vessels of interest, then the RCOC, as it was presented by Captain Paul, the RCOC, will then try to get the countries concerned by those EZ and the movement of the vessels to try to get them to go and inspect that particular vessel. Next slide, please. Now, so based on that, here I'm trying to explain what the RMFC and the RCSC does in very short. Is that the RMFC is supposed to monitor in real time the movement of all vessels, identify abnormal movement of vessels, and then eventually exchange this information with the national centers and other regional centers, try to get collaboration with other IFCs, shipping industry, and states, and eventually keep a record of all the identified VOIs and monitored VOIs. Next slide, please. So in the next slide, we will try to give you the summary of the RC. What RCOC does is the try to pool assets from the countries and monitor the actions at sea amongst the different countries. Now, it is very important for us to tell you that the RCOC is not a command and control center. The command and control of the assets remain with a concerned country in its EZ. Next slide, please. Now, I wanted to just go very quickly on why this is key. If you look at the EZs of the countries, the frontier of the EZ of one country is the frontier of the EZ of another. So one vessel which is doing IU fishing, normally it will do along these frontiers and then shift from one EZ to the other, and that's how they escape. So in other words, if there is a collective vision of the movement of the vessels through a comprehensive maritime picture, then we'll be able to identify the vessel. But if it's regional, then if the vessel is shifting from one EZ going to another, we can still continue and get that vessel inspected. Next slide, please. Now, here we are trying just to give you one example. You see this vessel, it leaves the northern part of Mozambique, it shifts from 5 EZs, goes in the northern part of the Mauritian EZ and goes back. And if we follow that particular vessel, because at one point in time, it has to put its AIS on. So we can find that this is a very suspicious behavior of a particular vessel. Just to illustrate, this is the kind of things that we do. Next slide, please. Now, in this, what is the way forward on MDA? Next slide, please. The points that I presented earlier, you see there are 4 main points. This is where I think that we'll have to look at the MDA in this aspect. So, for example, we need to try to get a network of IFCs, national and regional, to be working together, because the activities, illicit activities of vessels is not restricted to the area of interest of the RMSA, but it goes anywhere. So, why should we not work together with all the other countries through the IURA, for example, and try to get a whole Indian Ocean comprehensive maritime picture by linking all the IFCs that exist in the Indian Ocean. Secondly, we need to relook at the strategies of the countries on how they're using the asset, from one which is correct to just react to a request for assistance to another one which is an intelligence-based, focus on the use of those assets by identifying particular vessels of interest. Thirdly, we'll have to look at and try to understand both at national and regional level how we can get, the partners to be helping these centers to try to push for the MDA tools and systems which are also very costly, not necessarily these MDA tools being invented and produced in our region, but produced elsewhere. Some countries have more, some countries have the latest, some less, and this is where Australia, India, EU, France, etc. can come and provide these technologies and the tools, and then have a system of the transfer of the technology from these developed countries into, and for example, to be very specific, just one example, our objective at the IOC is to see to it that every country which are party to the RMSA, that they have at least 20 fully trained personnel that can use and utilize all the different MDA tools, and that those centers, national centers, they are open 24/7. And lastly, we'll have to see to it that those very important structural and organizational process and procedures are established in all the countries. Next slide, please. Now, what I think is also very important, and to conclude here, because I had 8 minutes to conclude, what is very important for us to conclude is this workshop that is being organized is very important. We look at it from a perspective of how trying to look at the different tools that exist and the experiences of countries like Australia, how we can get those tools, those technologies, train people in our region through cooperation with Australia, with India, with all the developed countries, France, etc., see to it that there is a sufficient number of personnel in national centers, in related also institutions, at the same time also the access to these new tools and MDA tools in the region to effectively get the RMSA at a certain level where we can say that the regional maritime security architecture acts as a deterrence to illicit activities in its area. I stop here. I hope I have not surpassed my time, which was allocated to me.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you very much.
Quite interesting. Now, I'm sure, this in the architecture, in the building up of the architecture, the support that you expect from the external, from other countries, they sure to come, like in many other regions. But one question from me is that the MASE, the Maritime Security Construct, under which that you have RMIFC and then the RCOC, do you have also avenue to reach in case of that, you lack assets? You have Combined Maritime Force area, it's the task force are operating, task force 153, whatever. And then the other multinational assets there. Is there a way that you can reach them for asset need in case of going after any targets?
Yes. In fact, if you look at the two regional agreements that have been signed, it makes provision for the signatory states of the RMSA to partner with any state, any partner. The RCOC has undertaken, since the last 3 years, 45 operations. Every single operation is a whole story in itself. And some of these operations have involved UNAVFOR assets and some UK assets. And we are dialoguing with CMF to try to see, as you're saying, CTF 151, 152, etc., how we can mobilize other assets from partners to chip in. For example, we are also discussing with India. There is already an MOU between RCOC and IFC-IOR, but that is on information exchange. We are trying to get RMFC also to work together with IFC-IOR because this is the exchange of information. But then we are trying to also get India, for example, to join in, and other important nations which have the assets in the region, as you mentioned, CMF. We are trying to discuss and negotiate with them and on what conditions, how we can operate. Yes, there have been several operations done already with UK. In fact, that operation done with UK enabled the seizure of 870 kg of heroin. And with UNAVFOR also, we have undertaken. Captain Paul can give you some examples. Indeed, it is on the agenda, and there are provisions for it, even on the basis of the regional agreements that have been signed.
Thank you. I think, we have time for a question or two from the floor. Please. Karin?
Thank you, sir. My question actually goes to the International Liaison Officer for Djibouti, because in all the instances we've been discussing up to now, one that has not been mentioned is the Djibouti Code of Conduct. And I was wondering, and especially being an ILO at the RCOC, how can you manage to connect what's being doing between the structures created under the IOC and the DCOC, and interactions that you could have as well with the IFC-IOR in general? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. About DCOC, the RCOC and RCOC have working with work group 3, and we until now we are working on working group 3. We don't are still working on work group 3, working group 3.
I think we will also you can also speak.
Pour le moment, il y a le working group 3 qui travaille sur on est en plein travail dans ce domaine d'ici aussi. C'est pour cela que pour plus de détails, faudra attendre ce que le Working Group 3 va donner à la fin de leur dernière rencontre.
So the answer was that the Working Group 3, but pardon, le Working Group 3 de quoi? du DCOC directement?
Ah oui, exactement, du DCOC, de la Commission Océan Indien et des centres.
Okay. So from my understanding, the working group number 3 of DCOC is currently in the process of working with the IOC to set up an arrangement, right, between the two programs?
Exactement. Oui, exactly.
Any other questions? You're struggling hard. I know. I think we have a minute or two still.
Chair, if you allow me, I can provide some.
Okay, quick one.
Yeah, no, just to say, but indeed.
Yeah, just give a quick response on that question. Yes.
Yes. No, what I wanted to say is that this is a very important question. We have to see to it that there is no duplication of processes and regional mechanisms in this area. This is key. This is important. All the signatories of the RMSA are also signatories of DCOC. So we cannot have a national center for DCOC with different processes, different SOPs, different mechanisms, different institutions at national level, and to those which are for RMSA. So this issue, this question is key, in fact. And we are dialoguing with DCOC, and we have participated in the first working group 3. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to present the way the RMSA has been established so that there is no duplication of processes and institutions and regional centers in the process. So we are dialoguing. There is already an agreement in principle that we'll have to work together, but the precise modalities on how the regional centers and DCOC will work have not yet been formulated. So this is work in progress, and there was a high-level meeting not later than last week in Mauritius, whereby the conclusions of the working group 3, which met in September for the first time, these conclusions have been tabled to the high-level meeting. There is a plan of work that is on the table, but then the links and the modalities for cooperation between the RMSA and DCOC has not yet been finalized. It is something work in progress, and with the idea of avoiding duplication, complementarity, and seeing to it that we also work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think, with that, we will conclude this session. Although I wanted to engage more with you all, the time limitation is there. So thank you very much. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Saad. Thank you, Leroy. It's a great discussion.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we've got afternoon tea before our final session before we close the workshop. So if you could all be back here, please, at 15:25. So quick coffee and one of the delicacies out there. And could I have you back at 15:25, 3:25? Thank you.